tonight's coverage of the BTDY Racing League Chase for the BTDY Cup. There's no place like home here at the Kansas Speedway for race 1. Colorado stays bottom, slides up into 1. We cut back at the track and he gets clobbered. Here comes Loveland to the inside. Jeff Wright will come home and he'll win the race and win the winner of the playoffs at the Kansas Speedway.
Tonight, Below the Double Yellow heads to Rockingham Raceway for race number 13 of the FloridaSkinDoctor.com Racing Series. For the top 12 drivers of this series, the quest for a championship begins tonight at the Rock as we kick off 8 races to crown our champion. It starts here tonight in the VSPEED 150, and as always, we will be bringing you all that action right here on VSPEED. Good evening, race fans. My name is Daniel Cunningham. And alongside me in the booth, again pulling double duty, co-commentator and producer Lucas Lyons. Lucas, we've had a long season so far. Well, I shouldn't say a long season. We've had an exciting season so far. There's been a lot of great racing, a lot of great finishes that you and I have been on the call for. What are you expecting? How are you feeling as we get ready to head into this chase for the championship here this evening?
I think the exciting finishes are going to continue to build up and make for a great final 8 races of the season. We've had a fuel mileage race with Bailey Turner taking the win at Darlington. We've had a bit of a controversial one at Charlotte last week with Brody Hayes winning that one against AJ Stravato. And 3 wide at Richmond with a bit of a gutsy call for Keith Maiato taking 2 tires, beating out Levi Cox for that win. But I just think the intensity is going to keep ramping up as the 12 drivers try to win a championship here.
Well, you said it very well there, Lucas. We've seen just about everything that you can see through these first 12 races of the season. And one thing that we want to do, well, we want to make sure that you know all 12 drivers. We want to make sure that you know everybody that's out there that is racing for that championship. So, folks, we've got a little tail of the tape that we are going to run here for you and tell you a little bit about each of our drivers that are going to be running for the championship. Lucas, what can you tell us about some of these championship contenders here this evening?
So, in the 12th seed, we have Ryan Phillips in the 27. Doesn't have a top 5 yet in the first 12 races, but does have 4 top 10s, average start of a 12.8, average finish of a 15.3. Best finish is 6th at Gateway and a lowest finish of 26th. Last week at Charlotte, drives for Big Fast Racing. In the 11th seed, we have Noah Mahalski, 2 top 5s on the season, 4 top 10s, average finish of a 14.2, average start of a 10.8. highest finish of 3rd at Atlanta and Gateway, and a lowest finish of 33rd at Daytona, and drives for Neon Auto Racing. In the 10th seed, we have Michael Robinson with 2 top 5s on the season, 5 top 10s, average start of 16th, average finish of a 13.3, got 2nd in the season opener at Daytona for his highest finish, lowest finish of 26th at Nashville Fairgrounds, and drives for Midwest Motorsports. In the 9th seed, we have Jeremiah Hobbs. 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s, average start of a 15.2, average finish of a 12.4, highest finish of a 5th place finish at Auto Club Richmond and Vegas, and lowest finish of 31st at Daytona, and drives for Midwest Motorsports. In the 8th seed, we have Chris Simard with 1 top 5 on the season, 6 top 10s, average start of a 9.1, average finish of a 12.1, highest finish of 5th at Gateway, lowest finish of 23rd at Vegas, and drives for Team VSPEED. In the 7th seed, we have Jake Maki with 1 top 5 on the season, 5 top 10s, average start of an 18.1, average finish of 11.8, highest finish is 3rd, lowest finish is 19th at Gateway, and drives for Big Fast Racing.
And as we take a look at the top half of the seeding, the 6th seed, Jace Cully, 1 top 5, 6 top 10s on the season, average start of 18.5, average finish of 10.9. Best finish on the season, 4th at Nashville Fairgrounds, lowest of 30th at Daytona, driving that number 65 for Neon Auto Racing. In the 5 seed, we've got Eric Hutton, 3 top 5s on the season, 8 top 10s. Incredibly consistent average start and average finish, 9.9 and 9.0. Highest finish of 4th at Lime Rock in Richmond, lowest finish of 20th on the season, driving for Sad Boys Racing. In the number 4 seed, this is where I feel like you start the heavy hitters, the guys that have the wins on the season. Levi Cox, 1 win came at Auto Club, 9 top 5s, also 9 top 10s. Average start of 6.0, average finish of 6.9. Did have that win again on the season at Auto Club. Lowest finish was actually last week at Charlotte. The number 3 seed with 3 wins on the season at Nashville, Vegas, and Darlington is the 24 of Bailey Turner, 8 top 5s and top 10s. Average start of 7.0, really good average finish of 4.0. He's led 311 laps so far on the season, lowest finish at Daytona with driving for Sad Boys Racing. Our number 2 seed, Keith Mayato, 3 wins also on the season at Atlanta, Richmond, and Dover. 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, average start of 4.6, average finish 9.0. He's led 241 laps. Lowest finish was at Darlington in 27th, driving for Team VSPEED. And our number 1 seed as we kick off this chase for the championship is going to be Brody Hayes with 4 wins this season at Gateway, Lime Rock, Road America, and last week at Charlotte. 8 top 5s, 9 top 10s, average start of 3.9, average finish of 6.3. And again, lowest finish, as we've seen for some of these contenders this evening, at Daytona with a 22nd, driving for Team VSPEED. And that's going to be our 12 drivers that are going to be competing for this championship. And Lucas, one thing that we want to touch on, because we've always got to talk about who our picks are. I really think that the 24 of Bailey Turner is primed for a strong run through these playoffs. Or chase rather, not playoffs. That's who I'm going to pick is my guy for the championship. Do you have a driver that you're looking at that you feel like might be your pick to win it all this season?
Yeah, I think Eric Hutton has a really good chance to win the chase. He's really fast and can be. He runs into bad luck more often than not. He's got good long run speed. It's just the type race cars he tends to struggle with. He's good pacing himself when it comes to certain tracks. Others he's not too well. It's just something he has to get a grasp on in these final 8 races. But I think he's got a really good shot.
Well, there you have it. We will see if Bailey Turner and Eric Hutton make us look smart, or if they make us look like we're putting the broadcaster curse on people here this evening. But let's also just take a quick look at our points, because we do have a couple other things to touch on here as well. As you can see, our chase grid with Brody Hayes up there starting off with a 13-point lead over Keith Mayato, Bailey Turner, 19 points over Levi Cox, 22 points over the rest of the field. Brody Hayes rather having bonus points for wins, as well as that regular season championship. Something else we are going to touch on is the battle for 13th place. So even though these guys are not racing for a championship, something really cool that BTDY does to encourage drivers to show up throughout the chase, whether they make it or not, is whoever ends the season rather in 13th place in points, they will actually get free entry into next season for BTDY. So a pretty cool incentive that they do. They also do a $5 bonus to the highest finishing non-chase driver in each race. So something that we will track as well as we go through this championship battle.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to touch on, Matt Kost missed the playoffs by 2 spots, so that is how crucial some of these points are. And another thing is, only the top 4 drivers and then one driver who's not on this list has a win on the season. So a very good performance for the top 4 drivers.
Absolutely. Really strong performances for some of these drivers, and for a lot of these drivers, rather, as we get started here this evening. But Lucas, Rockingham is a pretty unique and challenging racetrack. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what these drivers are going to be facing here this evening?
Yeah, so Rockingham, famously called The Rock, is a mile D oval with 22 to 25 degrees of banking in the turns, 8 degrees on the backstretch, and it is a D oval that opened October 31st on Halloween in 1965. And real quickly, I would like to bring up the race analysis. 150 laps tonight with a comp caution on lap 30. Pit road speed, 40 miles an hour. 4 tire sets available. 3 green, white checkers. 80% fuel, which is about 60 to 65 laps with a modified setup from the admins of BTDY.
Well, and there you have it, folks. The race details, the racetrack, and everything that these drivers are going to be facing here this evening. But folks, we have wrapped up qualifying. Our drivers are taking the grid. It's time to bring you the starting lineup for tonight's VSPEED 150 here at The Rock. Take a look at where all of your favorite drivers are starting. The man who is starting off as the number 1 seed, Brody Hayes, he set down a heater in qualifying. He's going to start on pole with a 24.057. To his outside in second is going to be James Loveland in the 0-2. Starting in third, we've got Ryan Gemmel in the 6th. To his outside, the boss man of VSPEED, Adam Baker, starting in 4th. Starting in P5 is going to be Michael Robinson with Ray Massey to his outside in 6th. 7th place, Cody Atkins in the 55 with Keith Mayato, another one of our ones to watch here in the chase, starting in 8th. Rounding out the top 10, my pick for the championship, Bailey Turner in the 24, starting in 9th. Chris Samard rounding out that top 10.
Just outside the top 10 in 11th, we have the 5 of Alan Dice, and starting to his outside, the 31 of Jeremiah Hodge. In 13th, my pick, Eric Hutton in the 88. And in 14th, the 27 of Ryan Phillips. 15th, we have the 63 of Max Koch. And in 16th, we have Noah Maholsky in the 03. In 17th, we have the 46 of Dallas Sullivan. And in 18th, we have the 13 of Jake Maki. And deciding to not take a time, in 19th, we have the 54 of Levi Cox and Rob Liedl in the 20th position. In 21st, we have Dennis Fairclough in the 80. And in 22nd, we have the 91 of Zach Smith. Rounding out our field in 23rd tonight, we have the 65 of Jace Coley.
Right, folks, and that is our starting grid for this evening here at Rockingham. A lot of chase drivers throughout the field, some starting up near the front, some starting a little bit closer to the back. But right now, they are lined up 2 by 2 behind the pace car. We are getting ready to fire off for 150 laps here at the Rock. That front row, Brody Hayes, James Loveland, going to lead them down to the green flag as we get ready to kick off the action here this evening. Pace car has pulled in. Barney's got the green flag in hand, and we are underway here at Rockingham for the VSPEED 150. As you can see, coming out of turn 2, Brody Hayes able to clear for the lead. Going to try to set sail early here. The battle is on for P2 between James Loveland, Ryan Gemmel. Also got Adam Baker close behind, and then an absolute gaggle of cars there for about 5th place on back as the top 4 start to single file out a little bit here. These guys are using every inch of the racetrack here this evening, Lucas.
Yeah, they really are, especially on corner exit, as we have a battle for the lead right now. James Loveland takes it with ease against Brody Hayes. You see Brody Hayes running the bottom in 3 and 4, and James Loveland running the top. So we'll have to see what prevails later on as the run goes on.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because that's something that when I was watching practice, I saw Brody Hayes was really glued to that bottom, whereas a lot of other guys were kind of up, moving around, running that high line. So might be a little bit of tire saving here, but we've got that competition caution guaranteed by lap 30. So maybe if you're going to try to see if that top group burns them up a little bit, now might be the time to do it. But Brody Hayes looks like he's going to try to take the fight back for the lead here on the bottom as they work through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with how Brody Hayes has been able to wrap that bottom. Ran a few practice laps here before we decided to start broadcasting tonight. And I'm going to be honest, Daniel, I wasn't able to get any laps in as we have a pass for the lead. Brody Hayes passing James Loveland.
Yeah, Brody wasting no time at getting back to the lead there. James Loveland still close behind. As you see, Ryan Gemmel there is now in 3rd. Adam Baker, Michael Robinson rounding out the top 5 here in the early going. Just to touch on the top 10, we've got Cody Atkins in 6th, Ray Massey in 7th, 8th Keith Mayato, 9th Bailey Turner, and 10th Chris Samard as we're still in the early stages here. But Brody Hayes staying right around that bottom, just trying to be patient and just trying to save some tire here, as closest battle for position right now is going to be between this little gaggle that we've got right here. We've got Massey in the 23, Mayato, Bailey Turner, all racing pretty close to each other, with Bailey Turner taking a look to the inside of Keith Mayato there for the 8th position.
Yeah, side by side can be kind of dangerous here with how loose you get off of corner exit, especially on the bottom. Top side, hearing from the drivers that it actually tightens up the higher up you go on the track. Kind of a little bit different, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel. Normally when you go up top, it kind of loosens up the car. Here, it's the opposite.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to answer that, because this is one of those racetracks that I have just never really been able to figure out. It's a very unique track. It's definitely challenging. Neither end drives the same. So I'm going to take the word of those that are behind the wheel this evening with what they say the car is doing. So definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, though, just to see how these drivers are able to move around, utilize the different lanes. As you mentioned, it seemed like some of the drivers that we talked to pre-race did kind of hint towards it'll be able to be a multi-groove track where you can kind of move around and search for grip.
Yeah, as we have someone, Adam Baker, looking to the inside of Ryan Gemmel right now. Ryan Gemmel still running that top line, and maybe Ryan Gemmel's real life. Oh, we have a wreck in the back. Jeremiah Hobbs gets hard into the wall with Levi Cox behind him. Still in the wall,
Well,
wide.
He's still wrecking. I think he's broken his steering. Not much that Jeremiah Hobbs can do there, as he's going to bring it down the pit road. We do stay green. Take a look on the replay. Oh, he was sideways off of turn 2 and almost flipped it over as that car rode up on the wall. And Lucas, you were talking about it earlier. You hit the nail on the head. These things get really loose off a corner exit here, and just a little bit too much there for one of our championship contenders. Definitely going to be difficult to recover from that. Right now, he's only showing his 1 lap down, so maybe if he can get some damage fixed, get a free pass, might be able to salvage something out of it.
Yeah, hopefully he will be able to. That will be championship implications if that is the case, with Jeremiah Hobbs being in the playoffs. As we have Ray Massey hitting the wall on corner exit out of turn 4, and Bailey Turner about to look 3 wide entering turn 1, and we are 3 wide.
Yeah, Bailey Turner was looking 3 wide for a moment there, thought better of it here in the early stages. But Keith Mayato able to clear up into 7th place here for now. Bailey Turner still wrapping that bottom, trying to find a way around Massey. Gets a little bit of a run, but Massey keeping that momentum up on the top side, able to hold that position for now.
Looking a little bit further up, we got Michael Robinson running down Adam Baker right now. Was looking to the inside a little bit, now falling back almost into the clutches of Cody Atkins, who's hasn't had the best season so far. Just bad race after bad race due to bad luck. Running a little bit different paint scheme tonight with the all orange instead of the all black that we're used to, Daniel.
Yeah, and I think he did finally snap a little bit of that last week, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he did bring home a pretty solid finish. I guess I could be mistaken on that, but yeah, definitely not the season that he's wanted. We've kind of touched on that a little bit throughout these races. That it just seems like that black cloud has kind of followed him around. As we talk about him, Keith Mayato has caught the 55, and he's actually looking to the inside through turns 1 and 2 here, trying to take away that 6th position, but he's going to fall back in line for now. It looks like from about 3rd place on, so we've got one spinning. Adam Baker able to save it. What a save. Out of the 47, he had smoke rolling off of that car. We're going to have to take another look at this one right in front of the drivers we were talking about. See, he gets down into the turn. I don't know if he was loose before the 29 got there, but absolute whale of a job by Adam Baker to hang on to it and keep it on the track. It's going to shake out in about 10th place here, so some lost track position, but that's about the best case scenario that could have happened there from that contact.
Yeah, that is definitely the best case scenario. Rather have a car that can finish the race instead of being out this early, only being 18 laps in, as we have a battle for 4th place right now between Keith Mayato and Cody Atkins.
Yeah, it looks like Keith has a little bit faster car right now than Cody does. Cody doing a really good job, though, up on that high line, keeping momentum, not making it an easy pass for Keith Mayato, but showing plenty of room, a lot of respect to that championship chase driver. Keith Mayato going to be able to clear for that position as we take a look at this battle here. Bailey Turner closing in. He's going to be the next one to try to get around that 55 car and work his way into the top 5.
Yeah, Bailey Turner's doing a really good job running through the field, gaining a few spots from where he started. Still trying to get a good inside peek on Cody Atkins as he's going to get to his quarter panel coming down the front straightaway into turn 1.
Yeah, you can kind of see it there through 3 and 4 out of the 55. Just a little bit of a wiggle that maybe he's struggling with that car being just a little bit on the loose side right now. And he's been consistently running that middle to high groove. And I know some of our drivers were talking about the differences of how the car will drive up there. So just got to wonder if maybe that might be a little bit harder on the tires running up there. To take a look at some of these drivers here that are now starting to stack up behind the 55 of Cody Adkins. But talking about drivers that were running the bottom early and being consistent with it, Brody Hayes was one of those, and he's out to about a 1.7-second lead now as we work towards that competition caution that we'll be seeing here in about the next 7 or so laps.
Yeah, and this is definitely the Brody Hayes that we're used to seeing, definitely early in the race, pulling out to a big gap and just being consistent running the bottom as the battle with this small little group of cars continues to heat up. Bailey Turner now side by side with Cody Atkins, with Ray Massey, Chris Samard, and Michael Robinson breathing down their necks.
Yeah, really good battle here between these guys. Cody Adkins and Bailey Turner showing each other a lot of respect there. You can see the difference in the two grooves that you can run here at Rockingham and how effective that high line is with being able to just kind of play defense and keep your momentum up. Something that's really hard to do with these ARCA cars is just keep your momentum. But Bailey Turner with a strong run out of 3 and 4, but Cody Adkins able to still maintain that position for now. It looks like he just runs out of steam right at the end of the straightaway to try to complete that pass on the 55.
Yeah, and it was like what you were saying. Momentum is a big key when it comes to these ARCA cars, with it being less power. It's Ray Massey hits the wall again out of turn 4. And I will say, Daniel, I feel like this is kind of like a track like Darlington where you actually have to race the track and not the drivers around you.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way with just watching how these cars are kind of dancing around, and they're definitely on the loose side, something that the admins here have been trying to do just to make it more racy. It's one of the big complaints that you'll hear out of drivers is that the ARCA car is just so tight, it's hard to really get it to do what you need it to do to be able to get this good side-by-side racing. So shout out to the admins for doing that extra work and getting these things to where we can see these battles like what we're seeing here and making this a true multi-groove track. Is it seems like Bailey Turner's a little bit faster, but just not quite able to complete it. But behind him, a driver that is on the move is that 54 of Levi Cox. Started way back in the 19th position, and he is already worked his way up inside the top 10, trying to take the 7th and 8th positions here. And you know, with the way that he's moved up through this field early on here, I think this is going to be somebody that they have to deal with if they're going to win this race. He's going to be a factor in this one before the end of it, as the yellow flag is out, and I believe that is going to be our competition caution coming out here. So really good racing early on, and actually I believe we did have an incident on track that led to that caution. I think it may have actually been the 65 of Jace Cully that brought out that caution, just the way it was timed out. Take a look at the VSPEED instant replay. See, he's got Noah Mihalski behind him. Everything looks good through here. I believe the incident takes place actually at the exit of turn 4 here. You see, oh yeah, it just starts to come around on him, just not quite able to save it. Oh, and really hard into the pit barrels at the end. If he could have avoided that, it would have, he would have still been able to continue on, but not quite able to avoid that damage, and it looks like he's actually disconnected. But we've got pit stops. These drivers are definitely going to be wanting some tires here. We'll see how things shake out after this round of stops.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to, with Brody Hayes pulling on the field by 2 seconds. And it's like what we were saying, Levi Cox really drove through the field, so it'd be really interesting to see what it's like when Levi Cox actually has track position. He might be able to show something to Brody Hayes to make him a little bit nervous as this race goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking a look at our standings and our timing and scoring here, it looks like Ryan Phillips, one of our chase drivers, did get the free pass on that caution. So that'll put him back on the lead lap. It looks like the 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs he's actually about 17 laps down, but may stay out, take a wave around here after that earlier incident that he had, still trying to gut it out and get what he can. So lights are off on the pace car. They're getting ready to line up 2 by 2 and get back after it here. So our front row is going to be Brody Hayes, Keith Mayato in second, James Loveland, Bailey Turner, Ray Massey. Round out your top 5 as we get ready to come back to green. Rest of the top 10 is going to be Chris Samard, Cody Atkins, Michael Robinson, Levi Cox, and Adam Baker. So I'm really curious, like you said, Lucas, to see how that 54 car of Levi Cox is able to fare here with a little bit better track position starting off. But we're about to find out as they are lined up 2 by 2, just waiting on that pace car to make the turn onto pit road. The field will be in control of that 37 of Brody Hayes. Pace car is off. Green flag back in the air. Brody Hayes out to a big jump here. Really great start for him. He's going to easily clear for the lead. Mayato to second, but the battle is on from third on back after him.
Yeah, it was a great start from both of the VSPEED guys, with Keith and Brody pulling out a few tenths on third place, Bailey Turner. But it's like you were saying, the battle is on, and Chris Samard is running that top line to try to get the outside of James Loveland.
Yeah, and James Loveland we saw had really good short run pace. He was actually able to get around Brody Hayes on that early, on the early laps of that first run we had. So curious to see what he can do here as we get rolling. But for now, top 4, top 5 really running single file. First battle for position is going to be between Michael Robinson and Cody Atkins here, back for the 7th and 8th positions. Go ahead and throw Adam Baker into that mix as well. Up there running the Larson line in 1 and 2, trying to get some momentum to get up a little bit higher into this top 10.
Now the boss man really taking it to the other boss man of Cody Atkins, trying to get around him. It's been a while since we've actually seen Adam Baker on track. It's nice to see him as we see one spinning onto pit road. Not really sure who that was. I think it was the 91 of Zach Smith. And we talked about it earlier before the restart even happened. Levi Cox is breathing down the necks of both of the boss men of Adam Baker and Cody Atkins.
You are absolutely right. And that was the 91 of Zach Smith that did spin onto pit road. As we see the 54 that was of Levi Cox actually got into the wall as they were 3 wide. He was trying to get around the 29 of Michael Robinson. Doesn't look like it was a significant hit that's going to hurt the car, but definitely some contact with the outside wall there. Levi Cox has actually lost a couple of spots on this restart. So a little bit of work to do as he is now back up to 10th, down to about 11th or 12th. Before that, Alan Dice working his way into the top 10 for the first time tonight as well.
Yeah, so far a really good run for Alan Dice in 9th, as Levi Cox looking to the inside of him. And one thing we haven't mentioned, Daniel, is actually we also have yellow playoff banners as Levi Cox gets into the wall again. But we do have yellow playoff banners for all of the playoff drivers, so it's easier for you, the fans at home, to know who's in the playoff and who is not.
You are right, Lucas. Those yellow windshield banners to indicate those chase drivers that we have. And like you had said, that last hit to the wall for the 54. Oh, as we see Alan Dice actually gets into the wall there right in front of Ryan Gemmel and Eric Hutton. This is really just showing how difficult these cars are to drive at this track and how challenging this track is. We've seen multiple drivers here within the last few laps, especially on that exit of 4, just make just enough contact with that outside wall.
Yeah, and it's also another thing. This track is also really bumpy too. You can definitely tell in 1 and 2. You just see how much the car wants to move and lose rear end weight. I see Adam Baker actually get a little bit loose there, with 3 and 4 being a little bit wider, so it's easier to carry the momentum with the more banking in the corner. Keep in mind, 22 in 1 and 2, and 25 degrees of banking in 3 and 4.
Yeah, this view gives us a really good shot of just what these drivers are up against, just how different the two ends of the track are. And, you know, this is something that I actually went to Rockingham when Xfinity Trucks and ARCA were running there in the spring. And even though they did repave the track, those bumps are not gone there. You can even see it now today when you watch there, just how bumpy the track is, how much the drivers are having to fight it through there. So even though this is a little bit older scan than what they currently have, still something that they got to fight with in real life. So we see Adam Baker looking for 7th place on Cody Atkins. They are side by side as the 55 makes a little bit of contact with the wall off of 4 there as well. And that's going to allow Levi Cox in the 54, who is just up there ripping the fence through 1 and 2 to catch up. But Cody Atkins not giving up that easily, still side by side back on the inside of Adam Baker. So we've got 3 cars under a blanket for position here.
Yeah, it definitely seems like public enemy number 1 is definitely the wall exiting turn 2, with just how much the car wants to push up the racetrack, with how fast that banking actually goes away on that exit. You lose all your downforce because of how fast that banking actually goes away.
Yeah, it definitely flattens out in a hurry, so it's easy to do. And even just, you can kind of see it there off of turn 4 with the way that safer barrier ends and transitions back to just a regular concrete wall. So we see Cody Atkins is around. Believe he was able to, I'm not sure if he was able to keep it off the wall, but he does end up making contact with the wall. No caution on that one as he spun off the racing surface. Caught it just out of the background there. And there was actually another incident that just took place with Adam Baker in the 47 that we'll have to go back and grab as well after we catch this. But see, Cody on the inside just gets loose, like we've been seeing these drivers fighting this evening. Unfortunate break for Cody. His tough season is going to continue. Taking a look at our other incident that we had here between the 54 of Levi Cox and the 40. Oh, that is a huge hit. I did not see that hit initially. I just looked like it was just a little mistimed there between the 54 and the 47. And yeah, I really feel like the 54 was trying to come down to leave Adam Baker that room and just misjudged it just a little bit. That's going to be a really big hit and big damage for Adam Baker. While all that was going on, we've got a battle for the lead brewing with Keith Mayato, Bailey Turner. They are all over each other through 3 and 4.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, last week between Brody Hayes and Bailey Turner, there was a little bit of a scuffle in the quad oval, with Brody Hayes getting into Bailey Turner just a little bit, which was enough to get Bailey some damage and made it really hard for him to compete for a win. So that's another thing we'll have to keep an eye on, as Bailey Turner currently looking to the inside of Brody Hayes' teammate, Keith Mayato, in turn 1.
Yeah, Bailey Turner in that 24 car, looking for the lead, trying to take control of this race. Keith Mayato able to hang on to it for now. It looks like at the moment Brody may be just a little bit faster than Keith Mayato, but if there's one thing that we've seen throughout this season, it's that Keith Mayato has speed to win on any given racetrack. It's not going to be an easy pass. He's definitely going to make that 24 car work for it here as they continue to battle for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, that's true. And real quick, I want to highlight James Loveland in the 4th position, who's not actually in the chase for the championship. a really good run for him, and it might help his standings to win that free entry into next season.
Yeah, really solid run. Definitely the highest running of our non-championship contenders right now, as Brody Hayes gets a little bit of a run here on the 24 of Bailey Turner. He's going to take a look to the inside, and Lucas, you had just touched on it. These two drivers had contact last week. You know just as well as I do, race car drivers don't forget. I can still remember people that wrecked me 2 or 3 years ago and exactly what they did, where they did it, and how they did it. So do you think that might be in the back of somebody's mind here as these two race each other?
I think it's in the back of both of their minds, because when it comes to Brody Hayes, he wants to be sure to give as much room to Bailey Turner as he can to make sure that he doesn't get into him. And if it's Bailey Turner, he wants payback. Daniel, I know multiple times I have called you to this day and still ran about drivers who took me out 3 years ago.
Can confirm. That's all I'm going to say, is just can confirm that you do indeed remember. As we take a look here, we were just talking about James Loveland. He has actually lost a couple of spots here. Still a solid run, running back in 6th. But Levi Cox, that we were talking about earlier, even with those hits to the wall that he had taken, he is up to 4th place, and he is in the process of running down these leaders. He was actually about 2 to 3 tenths faster than any of our top 3 that last lap. So Levi Cox definitely on the move right now. See if he can keep this long run pace up. And we've also got Chris Samard now, a new entrant into the top 5. Really solid run for him here this evening as well.
Yeah, and if you remember, Daniel, Levi Cox restarted in the 10th position and fell back due to how many times he's hit the wall leaving turn 4. That just shows how much speed Levi Cox has here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it from him before. You know, we saw it at Richmond, even though he didn't necessarily end up with the win there. Really solid on the long run pace, did a really good job there. He is starting to really put some pressure on Bailey Turner here for that 3rd position, still running anywhere from a 1/10 to 2 tenths faster per lap than our top 3. So definitely the fastest of those up in contention right now, as he's going to get up on that high. Oh, big wiggle out of the 54. What a save. He's hung on to it. Ends up spinning into the grass, and we're going to call that broadcaster curse on the 54, right as we're talking about what a solid long run speed and how fast he was. Just a whale of a job from the 54 there to not hit anything. Gonna lose a ton of spots on track, but that was nearly disaster. He's gonna drop all the way back to 16th place, but that could have been a lot worse, as we've seen out of a few of our other drivers tonight that have had that similar situation off of turn 4.
Yeah, it definitely could have been a lot worse. Could have hit either the outside wall, the inside wall, the same barrels, and not been able to finish a race. If he gets a caution, he's back in this thing. We've seen him drive through the field twice now, the back half and the front half. So he definitely has the speed to win this race tonight. We just have to, he needs to get lucky. And sometimes race car drivers would rather be lucky than good to get a win, to get that point advantage. And you look at the top 3, they are drivers with wins. And then you had Levi Cox, who was running right behind them. Those were the only 4 drivers in this series with wins so far this season. So that just shows how dominant those 4 drivers have been all 13 races so far.
Yeah, absolutely. The 4 drivers, as you had mentioned, with wins on the season that are in our chase for the championship had worked their way up there. And also talking about the 0-2 of James Loveland that we touched on earlier, he is starting to put the pressure on Chris Samard to take that 4th position, running right tucked up behind him. So a good recovery here, as we had seen the 0-2 start to drop back just a little bit. So, and again, as we talk about him, This is starting to feel like Road America in the IndyCar series, Lucas, all over again. I just need to quit talking about people because every time I do, they're going to end up spinning out. Uh, so instead of talking about a driver, let's talk about pit cycles a little bit here. We touched on it pre-race, looking at about 65 laps or so on a tank of fuel. So we're roughly halfway through a fuel run here. Lucas, if you're behind the wheel, are you, with the way that these drivers have been loose and we've seen so many guys just fighting the handling of it, do you come in and undercut and risk that caution, it putting you a lap down, or do you say, you know what, I'm going to take the chance, I'm going to roll the dice a little bit here, I'm going to come down early and see if I can maybe leapfrog some of these guys and bank on it going green?
Well, both can be very viable options, but looking at the last lap times, Keith Mayato ran a 24.8, Brody Hayes 24.87, Bailey Turner 25 flat, Chris Marr 25.1. Their best lap times is only 0.6 faster than what they're running now. So I really don't think a tire advantage would really actually help them, unless, it's really hard to say, Daniel. Personally, I would rather run it out as long as I can and pray for a caution. It's a really tough track. We've seen numerous drivers spin out of the corners. So it's bound to happen eventually. Whether or not it actually happens and bring out a caution, that's a different story. We've seen multiple drivers spin out and it not bring out a caution, Daniel.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough decision that these drivers are going to have to make as they close in on their next scheduled pit stop. So, usually when we're in these situations, whatever I say to do ends up being the wrong decision, and I would run it long. So that's probably not the right decision to make. As actually, it looks like the 0-2 of James Loveland just had another moment through 3 and 4. Tires are a little angry with him right now, and just he was able to save it, keep it under control, but another sideways moment out of him there. But yeah, I'm with you. I kind of feel like eventually one of these spins, maybe somebody overcorrects it, it gets back into the wall, you end up stopping on track. I'd have to agree with you. I feel like eventually one of these is going to bring out a caution.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. You see both of these drivers of Chris Amard and Raul Meza get really loose out of turn 4. So drivers are really begging for grip. And another thing, Daniel, we don't know what the tire wear was like for the first 30 laps of this race. If your tires were at 70% for 30 laps, they can definitely make it to 60 to 65 laps for a fuel run here. Now, can they do 120 laps? We don't know. It's basically, what is the driver feeling inside the car to ensure and be comfortable with what they're doing as this race goes on.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough question, as Ray Massey is now up into that 4th position. He has cleared Chris Samard, starting to run down Bailey Turner just a little bit here. He was actually 0.2 of a second faster that prior lap. So the battle for 3rd could be on here momentarily as we approach the halfway point of this race here in Rockingham. And yeah, it's been an interesting race so far, Lucas, with just seeing some of these drivers, like some of our big hitters, our championship drivers that have run into issues. It's going to be interesting to see who can hang on to everything here. But folks, while we've got a brief moment in the action here, actually the battle for the lead's starting to heat up now, so hold that thought. Brody Hayes has actually caught Keith Mayato, starting to put the pressure on here as they come off of turn 2. Brody been running about 1/10 of a second a lap faster. He is all over the back of that 36 here, Lucas.
Yeah, teammates currently 1-2 right now. about to duke it out as Brody Hayes looks to the inside, even with Keith Mayato entering turn 1. Let's see if Keith Mayato can use that top side to get the run. And Brody Hayes thought he was clear, about to go up, and then realized, so he's going to send it real hard into turn 3 and slide up. A good slide job in front of Keith Mayato for the lead for Brody Hayes.
Yeah, Keith Mayato got the momentum off of 4, though. He's going to look back to the inside. Teammates or not, the battle is on for the lead with Brody Hayes having that top lane, though. Oh, wow, really loose off of 2. I was getting ready to say I thought he might be able to clear all the way, but Brody really saw it on the wheel through 1 and 2 there. Still loose through 3 and 4. They are still going to be side by side back to the line. Brody Hayes leads that lap by the slimmest of margins, but the battle is on for the lead here.
Yeah, these teammates literally leaving nothing for grabs. They might be teammates, but they're both competing for a championship right now, as Brody Hayes has entered a little bit lower than he has the past couple of laps. Keith Mayato still in his tire tracks. Let's see if Keith Mayato can keep the pace with Brody Hayes and keep this battle going.
Yeah, that last time by, Brody Hayes about a 10th faster than Keith Mayato, but I really thought once Brody got to the lead, it would just be time to check out. It looked like he was just significantly faster, but Keith Mayato, it looks like, has found something with running these different lines. And he is staying right in the tire tracks of that 36 car. And, you know, Lucas, we've talked about the pit cycles and everything earlier. With as close as these two drivers are, that could be the decision that ends up winning or losing this race of when do you pit, do you undercut, do you overcut? But right now, I don't think these drivers care about that. They are right on each other for that lead spot.
Yeah, that's definitely true, with pit stops being about 8 to 10 laps coming up. And I really think it's actually helping Keith Mayato that Brody Hayes is in front of him, because he has that chicken to chase. He's got that reference for lifting points, braking zones, when to get back on the gas, what line to run. And it's really proving dividends for Keith Mayato right now. Still sticking with Brody Hayes, someone who in the first 30 laps pulled out 2 full seconds on the entire field.
I don't think I've ever heard chicken to chase before. I like that. I'm going to have to remember that one, Lucas. But regardless of whether he's chasing a chicken, a carrot, a rabbit, or whatever it is, he's got that marker there in front of him to use. And I can't help but wonder a little bit, too, if the fact that these cars are so loose, it might actually benefit that driver in second. You get a little bit of that aero tight, kind of balance out the way that car is loose. But, man, through 1 and 2 that time, Keith Mayato with a big run right up to the back bumper. He's going to look to the inside. They're side by side off of turn 4. Mayato is going to lead this lap. He's got the 37 cleared as they head down into turn 1. Just fantastic battle between the two VSPEED teammates right now.
Yeah, this is really great stuff. And it could be completely true, because what we did see with Keith Mayato when he was in second, every time Brody Hayes would go up, Keith would go up, tighten up his car a little bit, and then Keith was able to turn back down underneath Brody Hayes and get the run off the corner. So we'll see if Brody Hayes does the exact same thing to Keith Mayato. And guess what? As these guys are battling, they're pulling a 10th a lap on Bailey Turner. These two drivers are 4.5 seconds and climbing than this third place driver of Bailey Turner.
Yeah, and I think that's the most impressive thing out of these top two right now, is that they are racing the wheels off of each other and still pulling away from the rest of the field while doing it. That is not an easy task. But one thing about it, Lucas, they have got some lap traffic here that they are going to be coming up on. As you can see it just off in the distance. Well, 36 really loose through 1 and 2 that time. And that's going to play a factor with what line do the lap cars choose. Are they running the line that the leaders want to run? You've also got, it looks like Adam Baker that is coming up trying to get a lap back. He's catching these two. So a little bit of a curveball that we're going to throw in with this battle for the lead, As you can see, Brody Hayes rather in second, still staying right in the tire tracks of Keith Mayato.
Yeah, and it's another thing with this lap traffic. It might also help the leader who's in front of these two drivers as Loveland spins out of turn 2. He toes the pit road, and bad luck strikes for James Loveland.
Yeah, one of those drivers that we talked about earlier is Keith Mayato got into the wall, a pretty decent hit there off of 4. That's going to allow Brody Hayes into 37 to the inside. Brody was loose going into the turn there, trying to drive it in and get around that 36. Not going to be able to do so. Adam Baker there trying to get a lap back the old-fashioned way. As we've got one coming on the pit road, or it looked like trying to make it to pit road. That was Rob Liedl that we saw the smoke coming off of the car there. And that was a lot to unpack in not a lot of time.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. As there's now a gap between Brody Hayes and Keith Mayato. Keith better drive the wheels off of that thing, because Brody Hayes, as he continues to hit the wall out of turn 4, Keith needs to get around Adam Baker, even though Adam's on fresher tires, or he needs to let him pass, as now Adam Baker is finally able to pass. So we'll see what Keith Mayato does. Does he follow Adam Baker? Does he get that arrow tight? Or does he run his own line?
It's definitely going to be the thing to watch here. And Lucas, we had talked about the pit cycle starting. One of our championship contenders has already hit pit road. That is the 54 of Levi Cox, running back in 16th place. Currently 2 laps down, so what he's really hoping for is that this pit cycle runs green. Definitely doesn't want to see any kind of caution. That's going to be the end of his chances of a competitive finish. The reason why he's doing it, he is running a little over a second a lap faster than our leader, Keith Mayato, right now. So it's a bold strategy. It might net him some track position, but it is going to be hard to maintain that once this pit cycle plays out and the other drivers around him then have the tire advantage.
Yeah, that's true. But as Levi Cox tries to work his strategy, Ryan Gimmel is trying to work his. A battle for 6th right now between Michael Robinson and the 6. So we'll have to see how this one plays out, as it looks like Michael Robinson is actually pulling away now from Ryan Gimmel.
Yeah, Michael Robinson with a good run through 1 and 2 there in that 29 car, one of our chase for the championship drivers. And as we've got the camera on Ryan Gimmel, he's going to say, I don't want any part of that broadcaster curse. I'm going to bring it down pit road and get 4 fresh tires. Can't say I blame him, given how it's gone with some of the other drivers that we've talked about this evening. But as you can see, he's not the only one on pit road. Noah Mihalski, Eric Hutton, Jeremiah Hobbs. Actually, I'm sorry, Hobbs has been on pit road for a while with some damage that he's fixing. Rob Liedl also on pit road. So the pit window is open here with 53 to go. I'm sorry, 53 to go. I can't do math today, apparently. 53 laps to go. These drivers are at a point where they can make it to the end. Top 6 have yet to pit. Everybody else, a lap down, has already made their stop. See how everything cycles out here once those top 6 come down for their service as well.
And as we are talking about pit stops, both Keith Mayato and Brody Hayes comes down pit road. So our new leader is the 24 of Bailey Turner. Your pick to win the championship this season, with Ray Massey right behind him, breathing down his neck.
Yeah, my pick. So with the way some of my other picks and drivers I've talked about have gone, may the odds be ever in his favor. But right now, he's in the control of this race with Ray Massey right behind. Still got the top 4 that have not come down pit road yet. And it looks like through this pit cycle, Keith Mayato has maintained that advantage over Brody Hayes. So he's essentially the de facto leader, as Bailey Turner, Ray Massey, both going to come down pit road here for their last scheduled stop. That is going to hand the lead for now to Michael Robinson in that 29 car, and he is praying for a caution right now. That would trap just about the entire field a lap down, as you see over there on our timing and scoring. So that's the play. I like the Hail Mary. I like doing something different. And just as soon as I say that, he says, that's enough for me. I'm going to bring her down pit road and get my last set of, well, not last set of tires, but last scheduled stop.
Yeah, I think as soon as the drivers have been hearing their names tonight, Daniel, they're like, I don't want any part of that broadcaster curse. So I'm going to do anything to get them to stop talking about me. And just decide to go down pit road as the driver who pitted with his teammate, Brody Hayes, currently has 1.8 seconds over him and will be the leader once the pit stop cycle is complete.
Yeah, Keith Mayato back up to second here. Dallas Sullivan, currently your leader, and yet to make his final pit stop. So he's another one of those. Actually, he's coming down pit road now, it looks like. So chalk up about the 7th or 8th driver that comes down pit road as soon as I mention their name. Smart strategy on their part to not have anything to do with me talking about them. A little bit farther back, we've got Ryan Gemmel, Ray Massey. They are battling for the 4th and 5th positions here. Levi Cox, as a outcome of that undercut, is up to the 6th position, but on about 10 to 12 lap older tires, depending on which leader you're currently comparing it to. So he's definitely got his work cut out for him to maintain that track position. As you can see, the last lap pit number there over on the left on our scoring pylon, Levi Cox on lap 88, everybody else lap 94, 95 or beyond. So, but he's had good long run speed, so I think it's worth the risk as he just touches the wall just a little bit down that front straightaway.
Yeah, and if you remember earlier in the race, Daniel, he had a big slide into the grass. So this is actually working out the best way it can, in my opinion, for Levi Cox, who's currently in the 6th position, now 7th position, with Chris Samard looking to his inside, battling really, really hard. Both playoff drivers for the championship in this chase format.
Yeah, absolutely. And really what Levi Cox is most likely hoping for here is a caution that would kind of reset everything. Get him back on even tires with a little bit of track position. The gamble's definitely worth it to be able to try to make something out of a race that definitely hasn't gone the way that he had hoped or intended. The next car behind him, though, that's on fresher tires than Levi currently is by 7 laps, is actually your pick for the championship. Eric Hutton currently running in that 8th position. Dallas Sullivan to his inside. That is not a battle for position. Dallas a lap down as a result of that later pit stop that he took. But Eric Hutton with a quiet night so far, currently running in that 8th position.
Yeah, that is true. And Eric Hutton started a little bit further back in the field, still gaining positions as of now in that 8th position. Triple eights, the 88 and P8, Daniel.
Yeah, and like you had mentioned, definitely just a quiet night. But really, my mentality whenever I go into these playoff chase formats, whatever you want to call them, I just don't want to ruin my championship chances in the first race. So you see it a lot with guys that just come out and they end up having a bad night. They knock a wall down. Maybe they speed on pit road, whatever the case is, that you have a bad finish and then you got a hole that you got to dig yourself out of.
Yeah, I would much rather have a little bit of points to actually play with than to dig yourself a hole. Quiet, consistent nights beats being out early in the race every single time. No debate.
Well, folks, while we've got a moment and a break in the action here as Keith Mayato continues to lead inside of 40 laps to go, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Thanks some of our great sponsors and supporters that we have here at BTDY and VSPEED. You're not going to miss a thing. We're going to go side by side, and we will be back with you here in just a few moments.
At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrapyard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipes. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Welcome back to the closing stages of the VSPEED 150 here this evening at Rockingham Speedway. See a pretty good battle going on here. Ryan Gemmel trying to chase down Chris Samard for the final spot in the top 5. While we were away, nothing changed up front. Keith Mayato still in the lead over Brody Hayes by about 2.5 seconds. Bailey Turner in 3rd, Ray Massey in 4th. And then Chris Samard rounding out that top 5. And Lucas, your pick, Eric Hutton, up to 7th place now, was able to get around Levi Cox. We did see that battle on the side-by-side there. So still some good racing going on here as we get down into the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, there's definitely battle all over the track right now. Also, looking a little bit back with another playoff driver, we got 3 playoff drivers under a blanket with Noah Mahalski, Ryan Phillips, and Michael Robinson. And you touched on it with Keith Mayato. Currently was running about a 1/10 of a lap faster. Brody Hayes just ran 2/10 faster than Keith Mayato that last time by. So in about 12 laps, we might see another battle for the lead in this closing stages of the race. Talking about this battle here, Michael Robinson looking to the inside of Ryan Phillips.
A good side-by-side battle going on here between 2 of our championship contenders racing for the last spot in the top 10, trying to make as good a night as they can here out of this one. Ryan Phillips is actually on, it looks like, a little bit older tires than Michael Robinson by 7 laps. So 29 car does have a tire advantage here, as they both are starting to run down Noah Mahalski a little bit there, just directly ahead of them in the 9th position. So this has the potential to be 3 cars battling for position here as we get down inside of the last 25 laps of this race. And Lucas, you also mentioned that battle up front. Keith Mayato back to being about a tenth of a lap faster that last time by than Brody Hayes. So got to think that maybe the 36 up front is just saving a little bit, just kind of pacing himself. No need to burn it up here and throw down qualifying laps, just being smart up there.
Well, if I was out there leading the race, Daniel, you know me, I would definitely be running qualifying laps to build up that gap. But these drivers know better than me, as Ryan Phillips hits the wall entering turn 3, which is going to give the position to Michael Robinson if he can clear into 1. And it looks like he will slide up in front of Ryan Phillips to block that run out of turn 2.
Yeah, Ryan Phillips was getting a little bit loose that last lap, which opened the door for Michael Robinson to take that 10th position from him. Michael Robinson looks like, oh, he gets a little bit loose through 3 and 4 there. Big moment. Ryan Phillips just nowhere to go with the run that he had. He's going to fall back in line. But that was a little bit of a moment there for the 29 car through 3 and 4. And it just kind of echoes what we've seen through other parts of this race, where it seems like when you're the trailing car, you could drive it just a little bit harder. Once you get that cleaner air, it seems like the car just frees up quite a bit, and it just takes a little bit of time to adjust to that.
Yeah, that is definitely true. We've seen drivers, as Ryan Phillips hits a wall yet again in the corner, and we've seen it with Keith Mayato behind Brody Hayes, being able to run a little bit smoother line, not getting as loose as everyone else. And we've seen it here too with Michael Robinson and Ryan Phillips. But Daniel, one driver I want to talk about real quick, Levi Cox, who had that moment in the front stretch, spinning into the grass with a great save, not hitting the wall, still in the 8th position. Was 2 laps down, was able to rally back to the lead lap. And this is kind of where he's starting to settle out with how much older his tires are compared to everybody else.
Yeah, really good job out of Levi Cox this evening, just salvaging what he can out of it. We've touched on it throughout the broadcast. The race has definitely not gone the way that he would have hoped. But again, as we kind of mentioned earlier, if you could just keep yourself in the conversation after race 1, he does have a few of those bonus points from his win earlier this season. So, you don't want to have to fall back on any of that, and especially when you've got the 3 guys that have really been the other dominant drivers running 1, 2, and 3 right now. Less than ideal situation, but you just never know when they may run into trouble, catch an untimely caution later on. So in 8th place, as he runs right now and gets into the wall just a little bit again down that front straightaway, an 8th place finish, not the end of the world if he is able to maintain this here this evening.
Yeah, especially with how eventful his race has been. I would take an 8th place finish every single day of the week with everything Levi Cox has been through, driving through the field numerous times and having that spin. And it's like you said, being in the conversation is more important than having a one show out race. We've seen it in real life with Justin Haley. Wins a range shortened race at Daytona, but when it goes to other tracks, it's kind of lackluster. But as the battle for 3rd is kind of starting to heat up a little bit, Ray Massey running a 1/10 of a second faster than Bailey Turner. So hopefully the battle for that heats up. But a battle that is hot right now, Noah Mahalski versus Michael Robinson entering turn 3.
Yeah, Michael Robinson in that 29 car, definitely on the move right now as he runs that high line, gets a good run through 3 and 4, has the momentum down the front straightaway, not quite close enough yet to that 0-3 of Noah Mahalski to make a move, but man, you can see it right there. Noah struggling with the handling of that car off of turn 2, just how free it is. Michael Robinson committed to that high line, going to try to get a run here. He is right up on the back bumper of that 0-3 with the momentum down the straightaway. See if he can pull the slider here as they get into 1 and 2 to clear. Not quite there just yet as, oh, they're both loose. Michael Robinson really fighting it off of turn 2 there.
Yeah, it's that arrow behind a driver when you're running behind them, and when you pull out, as Noah Mahalski hits a wall really hard into that safer barrier exiting turn 4. Like I said earlier, public enemy number 1 as of now is that outside wall of turn 4. Now Noah Mahalski has to regroup behind Michael Robinson, but guess what? Ryan Phillips is now in this conversation between Michael Robinson, Noah Mahalski, slowly running him down.
Indeed, he is. That battle heating up as Michael Robinson and Noah Michalski ran side by side. That allowed Ryan Phillips to really start to catch up. And just ahead of them, Levi Cox. They are also running him down by about 2 to 3/10 of a second per lap as the 0-3 goes around one of our championship drivers. He's going to nose it into the sand barrels there at the end of pit road. We're going to stay green, though. He's able to keep it rolling, spun down off the track surface. And, you know, I'm going to give him a shout out. That could have been a lot worse than it was. And there may have been some drivers that were tempted to stop it on track to bring out the caution to save themselves. He did not do so. Gets it to pit road, but definitely not the ending that the 0-3 was hoping for.
Yeah, that's definitely not the ending. Oh, it's Levi Cox. He gets really loose. Same thing with Michael Robinson out of turn 2. But I will have to applaud Noah Mahalski for that. Really great sportsmanship by him to keep this race green and keep this action going as the action is slowly starting to ramp up for that lead. We talked about it earlier. Brody Hayes being 2.5 seconds back of Keith Mayato. Now within a second and a half. So hopefully this battle continues to go as Levi Cox is now in the wall.
Yeah, good battle for position here between Levi Cox, Michael Robinson, Ryan Phillips also starting to close in. Noah Michalski on those fresher tires going to set sail, although he is now down 2 laps running in the 16th position. Michael Robinson going to take a look to the inside here of Levi Cox, 54 up on the top groove, going to be able to keep his foot in it as Michael Robinson with a big slide off of turn 4. He's able to get it back under control. Again, just showcasing how difficult these cars are to drive. These guys are on the edge every single lap trying to make as much time as they can. And these guys are not willing to yield one position as we are inside of 10 to go here, Lucas.
Yeah, and it's definitely really heating up for this position of 8th place for these playoff drivers. Every point matters. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Max Koss missed the chance for a championship by only 2 points. Heartbreak for him. So every point matters. And you kind of saw it on the exit of turn 2. Keith Mayato is about to left. Oh, big contact!
They go around. No, they're able to save it and keep it straight, but there are parts and pieces flying off of cars. I saw a bumper in the middle of the track, but it looks like it doesn't actually show now that it came off as Keith Mayato comes around to start putting these drivers a lap down. That was some big contact with the wall there out of the 54 car as the 3 of them just all under a blanket. Take a look on the replay. 29 into the 54. You can see it looks like that's the 54's bumper, but it's still actually attached from that angle. And yeah, just hard racing. Looked like there may have been just a touch of net code there at the beginning of that as well. But yeah, definitely after this long into the race, it's got to be frustrating if you're the 54 of Levi Cox to have that happen. Still holding on to a top 10 spot at the moment as our leader, Keith Mayato, runs behind Michael Robinson for that for the lead here as we hit 4 to go.
Yeah, and how about Keith Mayato being able to not panic under that circumstance and being able to navigate through that? One driver I would like to talk about real quick, because we really haven't talked about him tonight, is Rob Liedl. In the 14th position, he started in 22nd, gaining a few spots throughout this race. Great job by Rob Liedl, especially at this very hard racetrack. A great night for him, as Jake Maki is currently looking to his inside, not for position. Actually, it is for position, excuse me. But the battle is heating up.
Yeah, definitely a solid night for him as well, as we are down to 3 laps to go here in the VSPEED 150 at Rockingham. Make that 2 laps to go now. Keith Mayato out in front by almost 4 seconds for right now. Still keeping an eye on this battle between Michael Robinson, Ryan Phillips. They are going to be coming down to the white flag. They are bringing this to the end of the race. But speaking of the white flag is now in the air for our leader, Keith Mayato, in that 36 car. Just been a really solid performance out of him all night long. No pressure from behind from the 37 of Brody Hayes. One last time through turns 3 and 4 here at Rockingham. Keith Mayato is going to be your winner, kicking off the 8-race chase with a win in a dominating performance this evening.
Yeah, definitely a dominating performance for Keith Mayato, leading 104 laps of 150. Put on an absolute clinic here tonight. Great battle between him and his teammate Brody Hayes. But tonight, it is all about Keith Mayato.
Definitely how you want to kick off this championship run, as Keith Mayato going to bring it to the front straightaway and start his victory celebrations here. Yeah, just, you know, I kept waiting for Brody Hayes to really start to close that gap down, but Keith able to really pull away and stretch his legs there on that last run. See, he actually parked it in the old victory lane there for just a moment. But folks, we're going to let our drivers catch their breath after what has been a challenging race for a lot of them. We're going to take another quick commercial here. Thank some of our awesome sponsors and supporters that we've got here at BTDY and VSPEED. We'll be right back to give you your full race rundown, as well as catch a word with our top 3 finishers. We will be right back with you.
At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrapyard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipes. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Backed by 70 years of experience, Duncan Water Systems specializes in commercial and residential water system testing, design, installation, and maintenance. Our mission at Duncan Water Systems is to provide high-quality water solutions to every customer. We pride ourselves on being responsive, honest, and customer-oriented. Our priority is safer water for you and your family. Contact us via call, text, email, or visit us at duncanwatersystems.com.
All right, race fans, welcome back to Rockingham Speedway, where we just saw the VSPEED 150 and a really solid race, a lot of good side-by-side battles. Let's take a look at our final finishing order here this evening. Keith Mayato from 8th place on the grid, going to come home your winner in a really stout, dominating performance. Brody Hayes in second, Bailey Turner rounding out the podium here this evening. Ray Massey going to be the top finishing non-championship contender in the 4th position. Chris Samard coming home in 5th. Eric Hutton in 6th. Ryan Gemmel with a 7th place finish. Michael Robinson in 8th. Ryan Phillips in 9th. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be Levi Cox.
Finishing just outside of the top 10, you had the 5 of Alan Dice in 11th. Dallas Sullivan in 12th. Max Koss in 13th. Rob Liedl in 14th. Noah Mahalski in 15th. The boss man of Adam Baker in 16th. Jake Maki in 17th. Cody Atkins in 18th. James Loveland in 19th. And rounding out the top 20, who had damage early, a very short night, for Jeremiah Hobbs in 20th. In 21st, you have Dennis Faircloth. And then you have Zach Smith in 22nd. And then rounding out our field in 23rd, the 65 of Jace Coley.
Right, and that is going to be our full field rundown. So let's get a word with our podium finishers. Gonna start off with our race winner, Keith Mayato. Keith, this is Daniel and Lucas up in the VSPEED booth. You got us? Keith Mayato, you got us. This is Daniel and Lucas up here in the VSPEED booth. All right, well, it seems like Keith may have stepped away for just a moment, so let's go to our second place finisher, Brody Hayes. See if we could get a word with him. Brody, this is Daniel and Lucas up in the VSPEED booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, really solid run tonight. Started first, finished second. Really nice way to kick off the championship run here. Just tell us a little bit about your race. How was the car driving? What were you really fighting out there this evening as you went through this race?
Grip. Um, yeah, that thing was evil. No, I mean it was fun to drive. It was such a fine line. You just couldn't overdo it too much. Um, it was actually more comfortable, I think, riding behind somebody than it was out in front in clean air. That first stint, I kind of just made hay and tried to just do everything I could to get away from those guys and see how the tires reacted at the end of that 30 lap run. But after that, it was more just trying to save. I thought I was going to be able to run Keith down, and I just overdid it one or too many times and got sideways, and then it turned into a dirt car the rest of probably the final 10 laps. But yeah, just fighting grip. Uh, Typical Rockingham.
Well, you confirmed a suspicion that we had that it seemed like the cars drove a little bit better actually in dirty air, like the aero push was kind of balancing out how loose the cars were. Um, but again, really solid start for your championship run here. How are you feeling with starting off with the second place, and how do you feel about your chances as we move into the next race at Kansas and going through the rest of these playoffs?
I mean, I feel pretty good about my chances. I mean, Keith's going to be hard to beat. Bailey's going to be hard to beat. Levi's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be close all the way up into the end of this thing. Just being consistent, being in the top five, and being able to capitalize when those guys have a misfortune or make a mistake is going to be huge. I thought tonight I could have pulled out a W, but Keith did Keith things and was just really good on the long run, like he always is, and just managed his stuff better than what I did. So hats off to him. But I would expect more of the same. The way this car has raced this year, Kansas is going to be insane. As wide as that track is, being able to run 3-4 grooves, this car seems to be packed up and everybody runs together. So it's going to be next week's going to be pretty nuts. But it should be a heck of a show.
All right. Well, really solid performance tonight. 40 laps led. Good start to the championship run. Before we let you go here, Brody, who do you want to thank? Any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, I'll give shout out to you guys up in the booth. This will be another one to go back and watch. Everybody slipping and sliding, and maybe I can learn a little something watching the broadcast. BTDY, everybody here that puts this on. It's probably one of my highlights of the week is coming and running this, and then all the sponsors we have. Florida Skin Doctor for coming on board this year. Um, yeah, and the admins, Cody. I know Cody probably isn't the biggest fan of the setup he made tonight, but it's fun, man. It's been fun driving this thing every week, so it's nice to be challenged on this service every once in a while, and being able to drive a loose race car is tough, but it can be rewarding when it's done right. So yeah, on to next week.
All right. Well, there you have it from our second place finisher, Brody Hayes. Congrats on the P2, and we'll see you next week at Kansas.
Yep, thank you guys.
Right. And with us trying to get a word with Keith earlier, let's give him just a moment before we try to get him back up here. Let's talk to our third place finisher tonight, Bailey Turner. Bailey, this is Daniel and Lucas up in the VSPEED booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, not a bad start to your championship. Third place finish tonight. Looked like, you were definitely the best of the rest compared to the 36 and 37 out there this evening. What, how were you feeling in the car? We heard Brody rather talk about how loose the car was and just what a challenge that the car could be to drive. How were you feeling out there throughout the race tonight?
Yeah, I felt really good in that middle portion of the race. We struggled a little bit in traffic, just trying to be patient with guys, and I think I should have just been a little bit more aggressive, I would say. But we got to fourth place there at the stage break, and we're driving up there with Brody and Keith, and just I think I got a little overzealous. Tried to push the car harder than I, should have, knowing we were probably going to get a full run there with, for whatever reason, caution's not coming out with half the field spinning. Just tried to use my stuff up a little bit to try to pressure Keith into a mistake, and yeah, all of a sudden the car just kind of fell off a cliff, and we were hanging on by a thread at the end of that run, and really just the next run we had some clean air, and I knew that those other two guys were on an island, so all I had to do was kind of hold off anybody behind me, like you said, kind of best of the rest. And Massey did a real good job kind of pressuring me throughout those runs. Just, yeah, I wish I would have had that middle run back. Yeah, I think we could have been up there with them if I wouldn't have been so aggressive. But, at the same time, that aggressive nature has gotten me the track position and wins in other races. So, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, definitely. So, you kind of touched on it a little bit with what I was going to follow up here with as far as that middle run and just kind of burn it up a little bit early. Do you feel like in retrospect, knowing what you know now, maybe there was anything you could have done other than that a little bit different to try to get up there and put a little bit more pressure on those top two guys?
It's tough to say. I mean, I will say their long run pace was really good, consistently about a tenth a lap better. That just kept growing that lead. So it's tough to say, but yeah, just not being so overzealous. I just feel like in this car, clean air can be so beneficial for the handling, and yeah, like I said, just being aggressive, trying to go for that. So it's tough to say. Either way, I think the race would have probably ended the same way, in the same order, and maybe a second or two closer to, maybe behind Brody. But I think Keith, he showed in even just the first 30 laps of the race, he could really weave his way through traffic. Had some really good pace on the middle to long run. So, I think the order of the race, at least for the top three or so, that's how it was going to end up either way.
Well, still a really solid night. And also, I got to say, real quick, that paint scheme that you're running looks absolutely pristine. I'm a big fan of that Coca Cola scheme, the colors on it. I think Dennis Faircloth made that for you, if I'm not mistaken, and he did a really good job with it. So you ran well. You look good doing it. Before we let you go tonight with your third place finish, anybody you want to thank, any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, yeah. First off, like you said, thanks to Dennis. I saw Suarez had this paint scheme, and um, in my opinion, I thought, I've been asking for a white Coca-Cola scheme from Dennis for a little while, and we finally got to make one work. So that was really cool. So shout out to him, and then yeah, shout out to Eric Hutton showing up and getting 5 minutes of practice and finishing top six. So shows if he would show up a little earlier and put some work in, I bet he'd be right up there in the top five, top three. So. Shout out to him, missing the other side boys teammates, and of course you guys at VSPEED, and yeah, all the sponsors that make this thing go around, and the league admins for putting this on every week. So looking forward to hopefully making a charge in the playoffs.
All right. Well, there you have it from our third place finisher, Bailey Turner. Again, solid run tonight. We'll catch you next week at Kansas.
Thanks.
Right. And we will try to get a word with our race winner this evening, Keith Mayato. Keith, this is Daniel Lucas up in the booth. You got us?
10-4.
Well, man, you put on an absolutely dominating performance here this evening. Started in eighth, still managed to lead 104 out of the 150 laps tonight. What do you feel like was your strongest point over the course of this race that led you to just be able to go out there and really take them to the woodshed tonight?
Probably being patient on throttle, probably more than anything else. Saving the right rear was key. At first, I didn't think it was going to work out because the high side looked very dominant. And then, especially starting eighth place, and I didn't see that I was gaining any ground in the beginning. But I could see, over the bumps, people are having a tough time. And that's when slowly things were, moving in the right direction. But yeah, it was, it's not what I was thinking coming in with very little practice.
Well, really solid race, and your long run pace was good. And this next question might actually help my co-commentator up here a little bit that struggles with patience sometimes. When you mentioned that you saw how fast the top line was early, and then was starting eighth, not necessarily having the track position you wanted. How difficult is it to really keep yourself patient, just tell yourself you're doing the right thing, and and how do you really keep that patience throughout the run?
It is very difficult. One thing that's good for me, I don't have very fast short run speed, so I'll rely on the long run. But you just gotta be patient, and then you have to realize that people are running on the high side, are on throttle a lot more. They're using up the right rear a lot more than they should be. So you just gotta be patient on throttle. Don't be aggressive over the bumps. Try to carry as high minimum speed you can, and not relying just on full throttle on exit all the time. That's probably the biggest thing.
Well, really good start to your championship run. From what I'm seeing with the points, it looks like you'll be 10 points back in second place going into the next race. So, really solid start here for you. Before we let you go this evening, who do you want to thank? Any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to VSPEED sponsoring the race tonight. Also, for sponsoring quite a few cars in the field. And, shout out to Brody. Awesome finish. It's going to be a tight battle between Brody, Bailey, and myself. I can't remember who's in fourth right now, but it's 9 races to go. A lot of a lot of things can happen, but fun race, and I'm glad I finished on top.
All right. Well, congratulations again on the win. I'm confident that this is not going to be the last time we talk to you up here in the broadcast booth, and we will see you next week in Kansas.
Let's hope it happens. All right, Daniel, Lucas, have a good night.
Thank you. And there you have it from our top 3 finishers, including our race winner, Keith Mayato. And just really solid racing all throughout tonight. Next week is going to be one that I am looking forward to. Personally, one of my favorite racetracks on iRacing, probably because it's one of the only ones I'm actually good at, Kansas Speedway for week number 14, chase race number 2. And we're going to be bringing you all the action live here on VSPEED. Same time, same place that you always catch us here in the FloridaSkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. But folks, that is going to do it for our broadcast this evening here at the VSPEED 150. So for all the admins here at BTDY, for Adam Baker and Bradley Cooper at VSPEED, my co-producer and co-commentator up here in the booth, Lucas Lyons. My name is Daniel Cunningham. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support from our awesome sponsors, our viewers, our racers, the admins here, and we will see you next week at Kansas Speedway.